Ye Old Pub, the B-17 Flying Fortress, piloted by Lieutenant Charlie Brown of Oklahoma, left Kimbolton, England, near the front of a massive formation of more than 400 B-17s and B-24s on their way to bomb the Focke-Wulf aircraft factory in Bremen, Germany. Luftwaffe Me-109 fighters attacked like swarms of wasps as soon as the 379th Bomber Group crossed the German border, darting and buzzing, ripping and slashing with their machine guns and cannon, desperately fighting to destroy or drive back the intruders. The clear morning sky of December 20th, 1943, filled with tracer webs and black smoke as American machine gunners, in their bombers, fought back just as desperately to throw off the fighter packs and survive. One by one, bombers picked from the flight, staggered and streamed toward Earth. German fighters in small streaks of flame showed them the way. German cannon fire knocked out one of Lieutenant Brown's starboard engines. He increased RPMs in his remaining 3 in an attempt to maintain position and stay with the formation. There was safety in numbers. A ship that fell behind in hostile skies became a crippled gazelle, abandoned by its fleeing herd and left to the mercy of lions. Bombers and Messerschmitts clashed all the way from the border to the outskirts of Bremen. Pilots and gunners yelled warnings and advice to one another over the radio net. Eerie electronic screams accompanied dying aircraft on their last long and fiery journeys to Earth. Sweating profusely from tension in his cold-weather flight suit, Brown struggled to keep his B-17 with the Armada. Gradually, however, he slid out of place with only 3 engines turning and lagged behind the lead squadron. Krauts seemed to sense his plight and singled out Ye Old Pub for special attention, raking it with machine gun bullets time after time. German fighters retired from the battle just short of Bremen airspace. Heavy 88mm anti-aircraft guns took their place, filling the air with black and red bursts, throwing off deadly ack-ack. Bombers tore apart in midair, slinging out their crews like broken puppets. Others, streaming oily black smoke, tipped into death dives. Lieutenant Brown lost his tail gunner to shrapnel. One of his waist gunners had a leg ripped off. His navigator cried out suddenly from a bad chest wound. A piece of flying steel gashed Brown's shoulder. Of the 10-man crew, only 6 remained unscathed so far. Ye Old Pub was taking an even worse beating than its crew. From reports Brown received from his gunners and flight chief, he gathered that the plane's plexiglass nose and its tail stabilizer were gone, blown off, while the wings and horizontal stabilizers were riddled with bullets. Rents in the slim fuselage exposed crew inside frantically treating their wounded while trying to keep themselves from being sucked out into space. It took the combined strength of both Brown and his co-pilot on the vibrating yokes to keep the crippled plane flying. Riding it was like being tossed into the back of an old pickup truck and driven full speed over a rubbered country road back in Oklahoma. Through skill and sheer doggedness, Lieutenant Brown nursed the wreck over Bremen, dropped his load of bombs, and turned back for England. A second engine went, popping and throwing metal, hissing fuel and oil into the windstream. Ye Old Pub rapidly lost altitude and fell even farther behind the formation. Now the wounded aircraft was on its own. Easy prey as rearmed and refueled Messerschmitts resumed the attack to pick off as many bombers as they could before the Armada reached safe skies. German fighters nipped at the stricken B-17, damaging a third engine and destroying the plane's oxygen supply. Flying at 20,000 feet, air cut off, Brown found his vision blurred. He and the co-pilot passed out at the controls while throughout the rest of the plane the crew simply went to sleep. The Flying Fortress, unrestrained, slid into a wing and then, nose down, began its 4-mile plummet to Earth, while everyone aboard remained unconscious. Satisfied of having killed it, attacking Me-109s peeled off and went after the main bomber formation to select other victims. Air below 10,000 feet became breathable once again without artificial aids. When Lieutenant Brown regained his senses, he sat strapped in his seat looking straight down at the ground rushing up at him. Wounded and oxygen-deprived, horror-stricken at what he believed to be his last few minutes alive, he wrestled with the controls to pull the B-17 out of its slow spiral.